Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production. And we are parting the Mistveil. So today
hmm
is Sunday. Recording this about approximately 10 p.m. Eastern time. So the cards we have are kind of the cards we have for this particular video. We do know there are particularly some Enigma cards that have not come out yet. No, some of the Illusionist cards, but
hmm
that's totally okay. We definitely have enough to go on here. I'm joined by my co-creator, co-commentator, co-caster, co-compatriot Rob,
Hello.
and we're going to
And we've
Japan soon.
got, yeah, we've got
Exciting.
the world premiere coming up in exactly what 5 days? Friday on Friday. So
Yeah, approximately 5 days. Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna have our traveling to look forward to, long flights,
Yeah,
but it'll be worth it once we get our
very long
hands on some of
flights.
these Japanese cards that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, we just got to pull the nuts here. Just get all the Japanese Marvel cards. So
Exactly.
do a bit of a top 10 as far as we can see it for classic constructed here. And so there's a couple different criteria. Generally, we're judging by the objective power level of the card as well as how we think it fits in the deck itself, strictly from a objective point of view, meaning we don't know what like meta
Right.
like we're playing these in. Cards can obviously change in value. We are
Yeah.
obviously missing some cards that haven't
And
been released
we
yet.
don't have full deck lists either. Basically, these are going to be like 2 to 3 card combos that we can figure out, or anything that seems to synergize very well with the hero power itself. But in terms of the missing puzzle pieces between those cards or around those cards, we don't really know yet. But we're
Yeah.
doing our best with what we can see today.
Yeah, so let's get started here. So we're gonna start with new. A couple cards for new here. So why
Yeah,
don't we bring up what new does? So
yeah,
new, we got the stealth. So the attacks with stealth have to chain link resolved, banish all action cards defending this, right? So
yeah.
the idea is you can get some chi, get some blues, play them, all that kind of stuff. But the
hmm
key here for Mystic Assassin is a fair amount of disruption, but also just like really good value and a lot of attack, very attack reaction heavy, specifically in like her common and rare slot. A lot of like common attack reactions, like a
Yeah.
lot of them. Um,
And some that
and
block for 3 also. I think that might be Majestic only,
exactly,
but some very good value attack reactions. And some cards that synergize with, like, if you've played 3 or more attack reactions, then you get, like, a really good effect with it. I think that's, like, one of her Majestic Assassin cards. So,
mhm,
lots of attack reacting. But the key with her, basically, is you want to be banishing as many blue cards from your opponent as you can, so that when you do pitch a chi card, you can then play them all from their banish zone at no cost. So, I think a
yeah,
really, really strong effect if you can get the chi off. Transcend being that new mystic keyword that says if you transcend a card, it becomes a chi, and then it goes into your deck, and then you can later on in the game find it or play it right away if you want to, and then get a
yep.
pretty nice payoff for it. So new is
Start off.
gonna new looks to be pretty strong, and so one of the legendary cards we got spoiled for new is the Mask of Recurring Nightmares. So this is basically a Blade Break 2 headpiece, kind of like Mask of Momentum, I guess, in that vein. But its effect is, and if you see the blue markers, this means you have to pitch a chi to use this effect. But once per turn attack reaction, the target defending hero banishes a card from their hand. So they'd get to pick
Yeah,
the card they banish, which is, you know, it's fair. But essentially, you can pitch a chi, which is a non-blocking resource card, to take away 1 card from their hand as an attack reaction. So really,
yeah,
really strong and disruptive effect. It is on a stick. It's part of your headpiece, part of your gear, so you get the effect as long as you have chi. And
mhm,
it basically allows you to use chi effectively whenever you draw it. A lot of cards that have transcend, or not transcend, but have, if you've transcended this turn or if you've pitched a chi, you might not get those cards immediately with your chi. So it's
sure.
kind of nice to have something readily available so that you can use it right away when you draw it. A 1-for-1 attack reaction, I think, is really, really strong. And I think that most, if not all, decks will see this card in the head
Yeah,
slot. Yeah.
I agree. Couple pieces to add here. The reason why we're putting this on like a top 10 is first of all, Assassin doesn't really have a lot in the way of headpieces right now. Like it's
Right.
probably gonna be
Still,
best in
yeah.
class because Assassins were playing either Mask of Perdition, which was more like, oh yeah, silver generation, you can kind of get it back one play. It wasn't particular like no disruption on that. It's just really just an extra card banished, but no actual effect on arsenal or hand. This one blocks two, so it's obviously better. Uh, but the other piece, a lot of assassins were running were Balance of Justice. So that
Hmm.
was kind of like anti KO tech or anti drawing tech in general. Saw a lot of like Azuris and stuff running in those matchups. And those were kind of your main two head slots. And so when you're looking at new, this is just kind of best in class for the
Yeah,
vast majority of matchups here,
very
because
fair.
not only does it have the as you mentioned, that kind of disruption on a stick, which is essentially just, and it's just attack reaction on literally anything. It doesn't even have to be on like an assassin card or whatever, or mystic assassin card,
Right.
costing that chi. But like new is definitely going to be a little bit more blue heavy than we've seen kind of other heroes in the past, and you are going to be running some of your transcends, and so definitely in a longer game, if you can get this off like even once or twice and then block for two, very good. The other thing is this attack reaction, which synergizes super well with cards like
that's
Double Trouble,
that's a very good point.
um,
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
and
Yeah.
like it's just another attacker because you already have your boots, right? You already have the assassin boots that give you the go again, right? If it hits, but that's one attack reaction. Mask is another attack reaction. There's a lot of
Yeah.
cards that say, oh, if you do multiple attack reactions, it gets has an effect. Double Trouble is kind of the big one, the rare coming in there. So
Absolutely.
these all kind of synergize with each other, and having the ability to have it on a stick, if maybe you don't draw attack reactions that turn, very very powerful. So I think this card is just like, I mean, it's a legendary, obviously, but like
Yeah.
compared to like the Zed legendary we saw, where it's
I know.
competing with Tunic, it's competing like it's
It's true.
competing with some strong stuff here, right?
Yeah. It is hard not to put
This
legendaries in the top 10 list, but we do try to diversify a little bit
yeah,
and find
we
some
didn't
rares
put the
and
Zen. Yeah, we
majestics in
didn't put
there.
the
Yeah.
Zen. We didn't put the Zen one in the top 10, but this one definitely
Yeah.
deserves to be in the top 10 list. So that's the
Yeah.
first one here.
So one more card that I guess we have mixed feelings on, you and I, but this is a card that
Yeah.
I kind of want to work really really strongly. And looking at the card, Gorgon's Gaze, of course, this is a yellow block 3 attack reaction card that costs 2.
Mhm.
So off the bat, when you play this card, you create a slither in your head. The slither, if I scroll down to that real quick, is an
Go
attack
again.
reaction again that gives go again. So this is a
Yep.
way to kind of add on those attack reactions pretty cheaply. I think you can get 2 for the price of 1 if you get that slither
Yep.
token right away.
Yep.
But in addition to that, when you play this, you banish all defending attack action cards on the combat chain. So if you think of other 2-costed attack reactions like Route, for example, Route bounces 1 card on the on the chain. This banishes all of them. They do have to be attack action cards though, not non-attacks. But that's
Mhm.
kind of a fair compromise. I think you can probably get at least 3's value with this card. So off the bat, decent for base value, but
Mhm.
the real strength comes from when a chi is pitched to play this, which is that blue resource we talked about. You may play the banished cards this combat chain without paying their costs.
Yeah.
So I think this card is bonkers if you can get this off. You do have to draw
Magical
this and a
Christmas
chi.
lines. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes and
You're
no.
right.
It's a two-piece combo. It's not that hard. You can also sit on Gorgon's Gaze and Arsenal if you want to until you draw
Yep.
your chi.
Sure.
Late game, when blocks are a lot more common, you're going to see your opponent blocking with a lot more attack action cards. So I do think that in that scenario, when you're at like low health, you're just playing and blocking, this could be a real win condition. Because first of all,
Yep.
you're banishing their defending cards, which could already get damage off the top. But if they banished, for example, a Crippling Crush, well, then you get to play a free Crippling Crush for 11, and then your Slither can give it go again as well. So this is
Mhm.
like insane value. I think that this is at least going to be experimented with in many
Yeah.
decks. Maybe as a one of, just for that win condition at the
Mhm.
end, if you want to pitch it early, see it a bit later in second cycle, and just win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really strong card.
Yeah, I do think the kind of where I would why I would put it in top 10 is definitely that late game inevitability. So the as you said, it's like a pseudo route, but it also gives you the go again, so you could
Hmm.
play anything if you don't already have go again. So if you've banished whatever, close the chain, you have go again and play a crippling crush or whatever, but just like
It's the
whatever
card
you
I
end
keep
up
coming back to.
banishing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
a 0 for
exactly.
4. It's a free 0 for 4
Yeah.
that give it go again. It's really strong. Yeah.
Yeah, and it allows you to, because new specifically looking at blue cards, right? So it allows you to just do whatever, like grab whatever you want. So if you manage to,
That
if
is
they're
true.
blocking around not giving you blue cards and they're giving you
Yeah.
red cards, then Gorgon's Gaze can banish them, and then you now get to play them with red if you
Hmm.
actually have the inner chi, which is kind of nice, right? And like you can only play around these cards so much, and the
Yeah.
if it had like the two cost is a little steep, but if you do run a bit heavier of a blue and have a good amount of transcends, which you probably do already, I can see
Yeah.
this card being quite good. And so in a lot of matchups, it probably will end up being like a lot of the second cycle fatigue kind of defense matchups. I
Hmm.
think Gorgon's Gaze is very similar to like a spreading plague esque, where it like prioritizes the matchups where your opponent's blocking a lot. So I do agree it is powerful. I just want to
Right.
see it a little bit more in effect. Like
Yeah,
compared to the mask, which is super obvious to me,
it is
this
true.
one I'm
Yeah.
gonna need to
This
see a
one,
little bit more.
it's a bit niche, I admit, but I think that in those matchups where you can get it to work, it's probably a sideboard or a one of in most cases. But anyway, I digress. I think it's good. Top 10. Let's move on. I think for the most part, that was it for new. Unless you have
For
anything to add
the
for new.
Mystic, yeah, that was for like the Mystic Assassin cards. They come in there. A lot of the other ones, it's like okay, they're all attack reactions. They're all very like limited cards, and there's like hiss and
Yeah.
stuff like that, which are very good cards and very necessary in that deck. But we're kind of looking holistically here, so they're quite strong. But we can't give new every slot here, right? So
Yeah. All right. Well,
we're gonna
moving
look for the
on
Mystic
to
Illusionist
the next
Enigma.
Mystic. Yeah, Enigma. Okay, this was the card that we're gonna get a promo of in Japan. So,
That's
yes.
the one. Yep.
So it says
So
the first spectral shield that you attack with every turn costs one less to activate, and then
yep.
once per turn, this is like the powerful chi effect. You
Mhm.
create a spectral shield with a +1 counter. I will note the +1 is pretty important because of the weapon, the two-handed
Sure.
scroll. That allows
Yep.
you to get
Cosmo.
go again exactly on all of your auras that have a +1 attack token on them. So the more you can give your auras, the more you can chain your attacks together, and all your wards can kind of
Yep.
attack at once, or in the same turn rather. So yeah,
Sure.
very strong effect. And the card I want to talk about, I guess, the most would be her kind of legendary specialization. She's the only hero that can play this card right now, so it might as well be an Enigma specialization. And it is a 3-cost blue with the
Mhm.
transcend keyword. So the reason I'm putting this here most of all is because it can transcend, and it's one of the better transcends that Enigma has access to. There are quite a few in the the basic Mystic pool,
Yeah, just
but
the regular Mystic ones. Yeah.
yeah, but in my opinion, like we'll get to them later, but they're not all that great. I think you're gonna run a lot of them because you have to transcend with this hero, but this card at least has merit to playing it for the most part. And the second effect of this card is actually, I think, really strong. You can put a +1 counter on each aura with ward that you control. So if you're setting up a board where you have like a couple auras that have ward, some with like 2 or 3 ward, or 2 or 3 ward, which become attack with your weapon, you can then give them basically all a permanent go again with this card, as long as they stay on the field. So I think
Yeah.
that's really strong. And the 2 spectral shields is just gravy on top of the cake. There, that wasn't right. Great cherry on top of the cake, and
A weird cake, but okay, sure. Let's go with
it's a poutine. Anyway,
it. Okay.
so getting this off is not too hard. To get all 3 effects, you do have to play a blue card beforehand, and this deck will probably run a lot of instants, and you can slot in quite a few blues if you want to be more heavy on the blue and get this off more consistently.
Mhm.
One thing that you could do, and kind of you could play with the timings a little bit between your instants, but as an example, there's a card here called Moon Chakra. I don't think it's that great, but just to illustrate kind of a point, you can play the Moon Chakra first. It is a 0-costed blue card. It prevents 1, but then if you've transcended this turn, it prevents 3. I think this is the only instant currently that transcends, or that has an effect if you've transcended. If
Mhm.
they release more, I think that'll just increase the power of the Lunar Shrine. But
Yeah.
you can play this card first, and then in response to this, you can then play Lunar Shrine. The effect where if you've played a blue card this turn will be true because you've
It'll
played.
see it. Yeah.
It'll see it first, and then you can resolve this card, transcend, and once you've transcended, then you go back to the chakra effect, and because you've transcended this turn, you prevent 3 damage. So there's some play here with this card that I think could be really good. We just have to see
Sure.
more cards like Moon Chakra come out. Maybe a Majestic that's
Yeah.
something a little better than this. But yeah, essentially, I think this card's going to be essential in Enigma. You're going to need to transcend, and this is probably the best transcend card you have access to.
Yeah, and then transcend, use it for Enigma, create another spectral with a +1. So you're gonna end up getting +1 on a bunch of spectral shields, and then anything on ward you get up, right? Because all the spectrals are ward 1.
Right.
And it allows you to create like quite a good board with one card. And Enigma is probably gonna be very high on the blues, like a
Yeah,
very
probably
large amount of
more
blues
than the
here.
other heroes, I think.
Oh, 100%, right? And we're looking at classic constructed here. You can run one of this for a reason. I think this card would be a little bit too strong.
Yeah.
On
Yeah,
the
that
end.
is true. Yeah.
You just play two of these. Well, it would cost a lot, but then you get the chi back, and I don't know, you could do something crazy here. But
Yeah.
that's the first one, and then the other Mystic Illusionist card is Waxing Specter. So
Hmm.
it's just a common, and it was between this and like a lot of the Mystic Illusion stuff is instant auras, very very similar kind of stat lines. But this particular one goes very well with Waning Vengeance off of blue. So Waxing Specter, the blue one and the red one. The red one, the difference is the ward here.
The amount it wards
So
for. Yeah.
yeah, Ward 1 versus Ward 3, but both of them still like pretty reasonable here. So we're looking at the red here.
Hmm.
Ward 3 and against the +1. The +1 is important because of the go again, right? Because of the Cosmo, because of the
The weapon.
weapon that allows you to gain go again with the +1 counter. And so you pitch a blue card for this, enters with a +1, it already has go again.
Hmm.
And if you have a spectral, you can pretty easily like spectral one go again and then waxing, and it could really get quite good because what you're able to do is you attack with it, you pitch, and it's a 2 card 6, right?
Hmm.
Because you pitch your blue, you attack for this will be +1. So if you pitch a blue, it enters the arena with +1 counter. So ward, you attack with it, and then it'll ward prevent it, right, on the other side. So you get to save that life. So all these cards are that's the reason they don't block. That's why they have to
Yeah.
get such good value on the
Yeah.
2 cards, right? And so you are trading your life to be able to play a card like this.
Right.
However, the value is quite good because you can attack for what 4 go again because you get a +1 and ward 3, and then you're gonna ward 3. So quite good value. And I think I like this one the most just because it comes in with the +1. The other one was the haze. I think the other one, if you close this,
Yeah.
the haze
Haze
shelter.
Shelter. Yeah, I was on this card.
It's good. However, it doesn't come in with the +1, and you need to. I mean, you generally would pitch a blue for this card, right? I
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
it's 4, but I think realistically, I like this more as like a defense reaction instant,
Right.
if that makes sense.
It's
So
a
like you pitch
two
a blue.
costed Sync Below.
Yeah, you like pitch a blue and then you can like ward or whatever at D-react speed if you need to, like
Yeah.
to prevent it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And 4 is quite beefy, whereas the other one is only 3. But you don't get the +1 counter, so offensively it's a little bit
Yeah.
if you don't already have others with +1, you could just attack with this. It's still good.
Yeah. Just
However, I
no
think the
go again
synergy,
without the +1.
yeah, no go. Exactly. So on the other side, you can like pitch a blue, play the waxing, use the other one, play a waning, right? And they're both Waning Vengeance, which is the other card on the very left, the 1 for 3, but all
Oh yeah.
instant aura, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're all instant auras. So essentially, what you could do is you could pitch a blue, play your 2 for 3, attack for 4, go again, and then attack for 3, essentially
Hmm.
off this board. This one doesn't have go again, but if you can +1 some other way, and so that's like a 3. That's a really good 3 card hand. That's less like obviously a super ideal 3 card hand, but I
Right.
think the waxing Specter allows you to kind of
Yeah. I
play
mean,
board stuff like that.
I think you hit the nail on the head. The +1 counter is what makes this card great because it gives you the go
Yeah,
again. It's a starter or it's an in between chain link, right? It's you need more of those in this deck for it to work really well, which is why I thought that the legendary card was so important because you need the +1 counters and you need to be able to get it
yeah,
consistently, or else you kind of brick. Like you're attacking maybe once or twice and then your turn's over. So you kind of really need those +1s in my opinion. So.
yeah, yeah. It's a 2 card 7, right?
Mhm.
Compared to the haze shelter being a 2 card 8. However, I usually envision a bigger board, and so Waxing Specter
Mhm.
allows you to use a big board,
Yeah.
whereas haze only you pretty much just swing with that and that's it. So it's a 2 card 8 versus
Yeah.
2 card 7, but it just really
Um,
depends on your board.
it's important too to also to be able to break up your words because you don't want it all to pop in one attack.
Yeah,
So you don't have to lose your entire word four on a one damage effect, right? At least you
yeah,
can
it's true.
split it up and keep them around longer. Okay, moving on to the Ninja Mystic, Zen.
Yeah, so Zen, once per turn, create a crouching tiger in your hand, search your deck for a card with combo. So you get a tutor. That's really what we're using
Hmm.
in banish, shuffle, and play this turn. Quite a few of the cards are combo. He's not really gonna have a problem specifically in a limited form, but his CC is gonna play very similar to his limited, just with the more powerful like Tiger Swipe and stuff like that, which is were not reprinted because they're majestic, right? Um, but I feel like the amount of actual chi that Zen is going to have is not that much. He will have some for sure,
Mm,
but he might not be as heavy on the transcend at the moment compared to the other two new heroes. That being
right.
said, a tutor on a stick quite strong. I mean, tutoring combo is still pretty
Yeah, oh
insane
yeah.
because you don't have to hit like Katsu does. You just grab it, right? Combo obviously synergizing with stuff like Flick Flack and anything else that you need combo for. I mean, you can grab your arms, you can grab combo synergy that way. The card that I wanted to highlight here from the Mystic Ninja slot was Harmony of the Hunt Red. So it's
Harmony
right on the
of the Hunt. Here it is.
yeah. So I think this card is extremely good in any context. It on the surface it doesn't look that impressive, but then you realize what you're
Hmm.
trying to do with the deck. So it only blocks two. Yeah, it's a ninja card at its core here, but it's a 1 for 3 go again. When it attacks, you pitch a blue, create a crouching tiger in your hand. And so the curve on this card is quite nice because your weapon also costs two, right? And so you pitch your blue, play Harmony of the Hunt, create your Crouching Tiger, swing your weapon, and then play your Crouching Tiger for one.
Trying to find
And
the weapon
then,
just to show it here. I think it's down in the ninja slot, isn't it? Oh, it's the generic ninja
e-
card. Yeah, I'll just show it
yeah,
here.
it's that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So it costs two, attack go again. And then you don't even need to hit or anything. It's just your Crouching Tiger is going to be +1. So what you
Right.
could do is you could do a 2 card 6 over 3 different attacks, which is quite difficult to block. um just in general, and for things like Salt the Wound, for things that you actually want to be attacking a lot of and hitting a lot of and putting that kind of pressure, Harmony Hunt very, very good, specifically in that CC kind of category. Limited also very powerful, a little bit
Hmm.
more interesting with cards like Bastion, which is the one that blocks two and then gives you one prevention on the other one. Kind of screws with this a little bit because you can kind of use that one card to prevent
All right.
the weapon and the tiger. However, in a context in general, because you're allowed to kind of go weave this kind of in between. It isn't combo, so you can't search it up, but I think it's still quite strong and definitely will be kind of a staple card in the Zen CC decks here.
Yeah, the key with this card is consistency. I think it's very easy to get this off. You don't have to get two cards,
Yeah,
or you don't have to combo much with this card at all. It's just pitch a blue and you get a crouching
correct.
tiger. So I think because
I
of that,
think
it's pretty good.
getting it to your hand much better than banish,
Oh,
because there are
yeah,
cards that I forgot the one top of my head here. It was the one that reveals the number of crouching ties to the majestic. I think we're gonna go through. That's one of my other cards that I put
right.
in the list. We're gonna go through it, but it
Yeah,
looks at crouching tigers in hand specifically, so it is very premium. It's not a majestic one. It's not a mystic ninja. It's just a regular ninja,
oh,
so you're not
gotcha.
gonna
Okay.
see it up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Harmony of the Hunt gets an extra premium for allowing you to get that tiger in hand versus the banish. So that's kind of what I have for Mystic Ninja. Everything else is like they're very good in a limited kind of format. We're talking more
Yeah.
about the ones that in a CC kind of format.
Hmm.
So if we scroll down here,
Yeah. Actually,
none
one
of the
I was gonna
go
mention
ahead.
like one card that I was kind of on the cusp of giving like an honorable mention was potentially Levels of Enlightenment. This card is it's kind of neat. It's basically for the most part, this is like a 1 for 5 if you want it to be. When this attacks, you
Mm,
can choose one for each blue card you've pitched this turn. So assuming you pitch a blue to play this, this can be a 1 for 5 blue. Pretty nice. It has all of the Easter egg text basically. Draw a card, +2,
Yep.
and go again. So
Levels of enlightenment. Oh, I see what you did there,
yeah,
LSS.
enlightenment exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
crazy.
So on on turns where you're spending a lot to transcend, ending your turn with this card wouldn't be so bad. You pitch a blue for transcend. You probably pitch another blue to play this card. That's at least a 1 for 5 go again or draw card. So I think that this card would be a very good filler if the deck is not fully if there's not a good enough core. This card might see some play, in my opinion. Yeah.
No, I'd agree with you there. Definitely some good synergy with her sacred art,
Yeah. The
her blue
three
pitch.
costed. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're gonna be pitching at least one blue for this, and then another at least one blue for that card, and then another blue for this card
Hmm.
here, right? So you're gonna be on that two blues. So you could be 5 go again or 5 draw cards. Still pretty good.
Yeah.
No, it's fair. Honorable mention. None of the other mystic. I think most of the mystic cards are really more limited oriented at the moment. I think we
Hmm.
still need to explore a little bit with like say Sacred Tenant of Chi ties, like super super great and limited, right? But I
Yeah.
think from a CC point of view, I don't know how common we're going to be transcending in CC.
Not
So
very much.
I
And
kind of, yeah,
the payoff is not that great. Like you want to do something a little bare that is +2 for transcending, I think. But
it's a rare because it blocks for 3, which is fair. But like you steal this card with new and you're just laughing to the bank, right?
right.
It's essentially because
Yeah.
you will have transcended when you play new because you got the chi. Unless, I mean, yeah, you could draw
You
chi
you
from
could draw it
before, but if
later,
you
but
transcend,
you will potentially
yeah.
transcend with this card, yeah.
Yeah, but if this card's sitting in the banish, you just have you just have a 0 for 7. It's kind of stupid
Yeah.
because you
Oh
don't have
yeah.
to pay for it with new, right? If you use new's
Exactly.
ability, you don't have to pay for it. So that's
Yeah.
actually kind of funny. But
Yeah.
again, very limited focus. We're focusing more on the CC portion for now.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, we got a lot of the stuff that actually transcends here. Um, I know these have to be played currently because they're the only things that transcend besides the legendaries that we've talked about
hmm.
earlier. But like their effects are so, I don't know, mediocre at
They're
best.
they're
Like,
not yeah they're not supposed to be amazing just
yeah,
because they're enablers, right? They give you chi to use your hero ability. They give you chi to do other stuff with, right? So
yeah, yeah, exactly. I will
kind of
say this
makes
is
sense.
probably my favorite one. Give an attack go
Yeah,
again.
go again.
It's probably the
Yeah.
best one, but not top 10. Just figured I'd mention that's my favorite one.
Yeah, very, very good in, I mean, for new, sometimes you just don't have Slither, right? The
Yeah,
one that gives go again.
right.
So being able to give other cards go again, specifically, I think for Ninja, it's also quite good. But I think go again in general is quite strong, right?
Yeah, I
So
think so too.
I do
Yeah.
agree with you there.
One card that I
Oh,
did
when
want
I,
to put in the top 10. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I cut
yeah.
you off.
No, I was like, now we're now you're on your
We're
next top 10 here.
exactly. So back to new and back to assassin in general. Justin Nick is an attack reaction card that costs 0 and blocks 3, which it's a majestic. So granted, that's probably what you're going to see with majestic level cards. But you can pick one or both of these effects as an attack reaction. The first is your target attack action card with one or less base attack gets +5. We've never seen a 0 for 5 attack reaction to date, so this is probably it's not power creep because you have to play it on a one attack card, but as an assassin, you're playing tons of stealth cards, and a lot of the stealth cards might end up being blue just because you want a lot of blue to run in your deck. So I think that,
Mm.
and not to mention the majestic stealth cards are also blues. So and they have one attack. There's a lot of targets for this card, so it'll see play probably in a lot of decks just because you're running so many one attack cards. But that's just the first part. There's also another part. Target attack with stealth gets when this hits a hero, banish top card of their deck. So I think that this synergizes super well with. Actually, I'll just show them here. There's two majestic level stealth cards that were revealed: Bonds of Agony, as well as Persuasive Prognosis. Both very good cards in their own right, but I think what really ties them together is Just a Nick. It's an attack reaction that you
Yeah.
can, add to that counter of 3 attack reactions to get a certain, effect. It's cheap and it's a 0 for 5. So I think this is a really good card.
Yeah, and not to sleep on the second ability there. When it hits banish top card of their deck, and so a lot of the cards, you mentioned the two majestics, but even the rares, they
Yeah.
a lot of their on hits are like gain a life. Like that's
Yeah.
really powerful. So you're getting more because each is one more point of value. So you have like your Art of Desire, all your bonds and stuff like that, and so
Yeah.
you're still able to. You're gonna be running the blue ones. They do block for 3. You're gonna be running a fair amount of those cards. Um, and so getting an extra piece of value for that and just banishing more and more cards, very, very powerful. And the fact this is Assassin means you can run it in
Mm.
Zuri, you can
Azuri,
run it in
very big one.
New, and because we're talking about CC here, so yeah, this
Hmm.
is very this is a very
That's
powerful
true.
card here.
Forgot to mention, not Mystic. So yeah, the floodgates have
Yep,
opened to anything in that
you just
talent
target.
or class, I should say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Um, yeah, the rest of these, I do want to add. I think I'll add one to the top 10 here. I think I might be one over. Maybe I'll do honorable mention here, but
Sure.
Double Trouble. So
Double
Double
trouble.
Trouble,
Yeah.
yeah. So Double Trouble, when I was talking about like the two or more attack rat and stuff like that, the minute when I first saw this card, I'm like, oh, two or more is like I don't know how efficient this is,
Yeah.
and actually playing this, and then it's like, okay, wait, this is kind of insane. It's actually super easy to do this. If for CC,
Yeah.
it's played or activated, so like
Right.
flick
That's the
knives,
key. Yeah.
boots,
Yeah.
the mask, any of those count as one of them, right? And
Oh
then
yeah.
all like the one for so all the mystic for like if you're on new, all the ones that create a slither or create like Fang Strike,
Hmm.
something like that. So the
Hmm.
ones that create it, you just play another one. It's like one of those is
Is
already
the
two or more
condition
reaction.
for this card?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is quite powerful, right? And so I think based on that, getting like the red one getting +2 and then banish 2 cards off the deck,
Hmm.
that's also quite good. But
But even the
um,
blue, it still banishes 2 cards, and it satisfies the
yeah,
condition to be able to play call it, the just a Nick.
yeah, just
So
a Nick.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, very very powerful, very easy to get through. So that'll probably be one of my honorable mentions.
Use
The other
yeah.
assassin cards are just kind of your staple limited kind of cards that like, you're going to be running a bunch of these. It's kind of like the stealth cards in Outsiders, the ones where like yeah
Yeah,
they're probably staple for the deck, but they're just very very specific and they're not like anything super super great. But I think
exactly.
Double Trouble is just like kind of funny, kind of a
Yeah,
fun card.
I agree. And just for the sheer just value of the attack power, so like a 0 for 3 blue potentially, or 0 for 4, 0 for 5. You might even see multiple of these colors being run, at least the blues and the reds, maybe even the yellows if the card is good enough, but I think at least the blues and reds might be played. All
Yeah,
right. Moving on. Here we see the weapon that we were talking about for Illusionist.
Cosmo. Yep.
Yeah, Cosmo. Not top 10, but just to mention, this is the card that gives a gives go against all of your wards.
Yeah,
Um,
with the +1. If it has
exactly.
the +1, they have go again. But yeah, so we're on to the illusionist attack. So the one
Mhm.
that I did, so the one that is actually going into the top 10 is Vengeful Apparition. Um,
Vengeful Apparition. Here it is. Yeah.
we'll look at the blue. I'm more interested in the blue one
Okay.
specifically, just as a baseline. So not a ton of illusionist cards actually block for 3. Funnily enough, like the blues, like you talk about
Right.
historically speaking, things like Haze Bending, Pierce, like all those
Hmm.
cards all block for 2. The rest of your cards are all the instant speed ones that also just don't
Just
block.
don't block. Yeah.
This card is illusionist, so first of all, not just Enigma. Like other illusionists can run it if you want to. I don't really know Prism really wants to run this, but
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
um, it it blocks for 3. That's already sick, right? It blocks for 3. So you play the blue one, right? When it leaves the arena, if you control no illusionist auras, you may play your next aura with cost 0 as if it were an instant. There's quite a few auras that you could play. Again, we're talking about CC, right?
Hmm.
There's quite a few auras like what that haze bending. Haze bending
Right.
illusionist aura cost 0? Usually you would take a whole action to action point to play that card. So the fact that you control nothing, it leaves, and you get like a haze bending in there with +1. Haze bending, the one that creates the spectral shields, right? So very core to a lot of what Enigma is trying to do, keep creating those spectral shields on mass. Or shimmers.
Yeah.
Shimmers, another zero cost,
That'd be a very
very,
good
very
one.
important to that
Yeah.
game. Yeah. So very, very good. And Ward 1, you pop this on pretty much anything you want, right? It's very flexible as far as when you want to use it. And it enters with a +1, so you can start swinging with whatever you put there pretty much like on your turn immediately. Like the second aura you put on there, like the Shivers and Haze, that doesn't have ward. That just stays there. You know what I mean? Like they have to do something about it. They have to
Yeah.
hit it, right? Which is great. It could just stop their turn. So I think, and if you don't want to use it, use cards with blocks for 3. Like it's
Yeah, that's
great.
true. Pitch for 3, blocks for 3, cost 0. It's got all the right checkboxes for sure.
Like the blue one's sick. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on the red or the yellow, but the blue one's
Yeah.
just super
Red,
sick.
a little more niche. I think it has to cost 2 or less for it to be played as an instant. You
Yeah.
might want to run a lot more of the ones that have Ward 4 potentially, but I think that
Yeah.
in this case, I think the real utilization is for haze bending. I think
Yeah, all the zeros that
the
you usually
original
cost an
0
action
costed
point.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the thing is, the two costed ones that are in this set are all instants, right? So you're
Oh, that
really
is
gonna
true.
have to.
They're
You
already
don't really
instants. Yeah.
need to do that, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, the
Yeah.
blue one I really really like, and everything else is like fine, but nothing really to write home about.
Yeah. Precisely.
Um,
Moving on to
we're on
the
Ninja.
base ninja stuff. I think you mentioned there was something you want to talk about in here.
Yeah, I got
Uh,
2 cards in here:
Two
Chase the
cards. Yes.
Tail and Maul. Chase the
Yes. The
Tail and
the two
Maul.
new majestics that utilize Crouching Tiger.
Yes. So, but they're very, very good.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
when you look at Chase the Tail, you're looking at Ninja Valiant Thrust here, right? So you got your three
One for
block,
7.
4
Yeah.
costed, 1 for 7. Yeah. So when this attacks, if a Crouching Tiger is the last attack gains, go again. The next one gets +3. Not difficult to have 2 Crouching Tiger because a lot of your cards either generate 1 in banished or generate 1 in your hand, right? And so being able to actually 1 for it's this one's 1 for 4, but your Crouching Tiger is 3. So 1 for 7 in general
Right.
with go again, and you can buff your other stuff later. As the next one, you play this combat chain, right? So you don't
Hmm.
necessarily need to play like a Crouching Tiger right after.
Right
You could do
after.
something else if you have like another card that needs to see a Crouching Tiger in some kind of step. A lot of them are very specific on when it wants to see Crouching Tiger, like Pouncing Chi or some crap like that, right? It really depends.
Yeah.
But it's just the next one you play in the chain. So don't break the chain, but you don't really break the chain
Ninja
unless you
doesn't
attack.
anyway, I think.
No,
Yeah.
you would have to have like a non-attack action or something to break the chain in this piece. But yeah, Chase the Sale, very consistent 1 for 7, which is
Hmm.
I don't know, kind of sick. Like it's a
Yeah.
majestic, sure, but not difficult in CC to pull this off. So that's my
No.
first one.
And the
The second
resources
one
will not
is
be you will not be strained for resources, I think, in a mystic
no.
class, so this will be a fairly easy add. And you'll be playing a lot of Crouching Tiger support anyway with this card, so you'll likely have
Mhm.
one to play with this card. It won't be like a dream scenario where you draw your Crouching Tiger generation plus this. You'll likely see
Yeah.
one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we got Maul, which is the second one. So it's a yellow zero cost ninja attack reaction. So you're gonna choose one or both. Target attack action with one or less. Base power gains +3, and so one or less base power is just quite a few actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then target crouching tiger gets when it hits, create two more in your banner zone. So I wonder what I can use this thing on. Question mark, question mark. And so
Yeah.
it's it's very cheap. It's a yellow. It blocks 3, so the stat line is quite good anyways because you could pitch this quite well. Not all your turns in Zen need a blue. Yellow is actually quite reasonable here. And then the other piece is, you could just use it on crouching tiger. That's really what you're going for, right? There one or less other like one or less base power other cards that you can kind of target. There are probably some blue cards you can look at targeting here, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
as easy as something like just a Nick, like the assassin one,
Right.
where like all your stealth cards, blues, that's just the stat line. A little bit more niche here, because this is also just a straight up says target crouching tiger, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, you can find the base and only use the +3, but in reality you're gonna want to use both of these here. So, but very powerful because it's a reaction on a crouching tiger. Like
Yeah.
that's great, right?
Um, there's also a very neat recursion effect with this card. If you draw multiple Mauls, you can kind of snowball into more and more Crouching Tigers. So if your opponent's not
Mhm.
blocking you and you happen to draw two Mauls, then you kind of have that additive effect where your first Crouching Tiger gives you two more, then your next one gives you two more. So at least you're not kind of breaking as hard if you draw multiple Mauls, which is nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when it hits playing the two crouching tigers, you can turn on a whole bunch of other cards. Like you can turn off anything that needs to be in the middle of two crouching tigers, and like a tiger something tiger
Mm,
end piece that kind of uses that. Maul just creates two.
yeah.
Quite good. If you have Roar of the Tiger, I think the one that gives +1 to all your tigers from. It's not reprinted
Right.
in this
That's
set, but
the Majestic from
yeah.
previous set.
Yeah, it also just stacks, right? Art of War, crap like that. It just creates more fodder for that kind of thing. And you can use like shit again, like Salt the Wound and stuff like that. Crouching Tiger, you're hitting a lot. Salt the
It's
Wound is a big
true.
card.
That's true.
You can hit for a lot of damage. So
That's true.
it all kind of stacks like that. So Maul is my second piece here.
Very nice. The rest just seem to be like a lot of reprints. I think we've seen, yeah, Flex Claws, Pouncing Chi. We've seen that before. Chi Unleashed is all
There's
reprints.
there's
Yeah.
some other like Untamed, but like there's other good like limited class cards that
Mm-hmm.
you'll play in CC, but again, not particularly fussed about them specifically. Last thing we talk about is just the generics. So
Yeah,
if
generic.
we look at the generics here, there's two generics, and I don't know if my total is 10. Maybe it's not.
We might have
Uh,
gone over.
scroll to the very scroll to the very bottom here. Probably we
Yeah.
can't count up here. Spark of Genius, but
Nope.
very very bottom right. You can see the two cards I'm talking about. Shadow Horror here,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
we'll talk for the Levia card first. Why not? Right.
This card
So
is
Shadowrealm Horror
nuts.
is additional cost to play, banish 3 cards. So it just looks like you're just your typical 2 for 6, block 3, banish 3 cards, like pretty regular stat line.
Yep.
But then you realize that it's just like doubling down, right? So
Yeah.
if you get 1, it's +1, 2 or more, it's go again, and 3 or more, it's you can play a banish card, which is great because in reality, since you had to go again, it's not that hard to like pitch a blue, get a Graveling Growl,
Yeah.
2 banish, and then this card just becomes like was it
Three for
no
13. I think 3 for 13.
two, yeah, it depends on the color of the growl, I guess. So if
I'm
you have like
assuming
a
red. I
yellow
guess.
growl,
Yeah.
well, yeah, you could go like a yellow growl, right? So you have yellow growl for 6 and this is 7. Yeah, it's a 2 card 13, which
Yeah.
is like okay, Levia, like you needed better numbers apparently. Okay, I don't
This
really
card
think
is
that's what she
nuts.
needed,
Yeah.
but it is a very like really only your only go again other than like agility sources was your
Um,
like the
the 2 for
Dread
6.
Screamer. Yeah,
Dread
the Dread
Screamer.
Screamer.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
having this 2 or more, like pretty reasonable. It really depends on what you're playing. You're gonna not want as
You'll
many,
likely
not
get two.
sixes,
I
but
think it's rare to like hit 2 Art of Wars or whatever, like a Blood Rush and Art of War. You're gonna
yeah,
likely see 2 on this, and most of the time 3
yeah.
probably. Yeah.
I think you just like you don't start with this, right? You try to start with something else and then play this, and if you gain the go again and get the growl, then you just like have extra. Like you don't need to play towards be like, oh, I'm definitely gonna get this many, and then you get screwed because you played around getting that many, like two
Yeah.
for the go again, right? So you could just play it as like a win more kind of card, but it's still very powerful in that respect.
Yeah.
And Levi is super happy to have this card. Kind of
Yeah.
nuts.
It's probably the
Um,
best card in the set. I'm just gonna say it. I think in terms of like raw power,
I
this is a strong card.
it's strong, but it's conditional. So I don't know if I would say it's the best card in the set. You could easily
Conditional,
just
but
whiff.
high, not as conditional as most cards. I think this. I don't think you can whiff that
Yeah,
hard.
if I've seen Levias play, you whiff and you lose sometimes,
You know,
right? So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
good, but
You know what's funny too? The interaction between like New and Levia. New just playing all of Levia's banished blue cards, just
no,
putting them back in grave. Like, yeah,
yeah,
no
it's
Levia
not.
redeemed for you.
Yeah, but then new just like banishing on hits. Like you literally banish your top cards Blood Dead.
Mm.
You started Blood Dead trade, and maybe Levi didn't want to start
Oh,
the
she
Blood Dead
forces
trade.
the Blood Dead trade. Yeah, this is gonna be
She
a fun
forces the
matchup.
Blood Dead trade. That's gonna be a matchup right there.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
that's
Anyway,
Shadowrealm Horror. So the next card here, and what I think
the
is the most
Vinset card.
ad- I think this is the most powerful card in the set.
Oh really?
IMO.
Okay.
From
Okay. Well, you're a
from an
Vincent player,
objective.
so
Well, no,
biased a little bit.
no. I'm not a Vincent player. I've played Vincent, but like I'm just talking about like objective power levels. I think as Vincent, the when I was building the deck, the one thing I really craved in life was RuneGate 1, right?
Okay, that's fair.
Because
Yeah.
they think about it this way. This card is a 1 for 5 with upside, right? Think about it this way. You have a hand. Okay, you block with 3 cards, right? Because generally you didn't want to do that. But here it doesn't really matter because when you block for 3 cards, you have to banish something. But depending on how many rune chants, like if you just went off the turn before and you have no rune chants, then you
Flail.
can play literally nothing. Yeah, you flail. It's bad. It's really bad because you flail and you pop your rune chant, but you didn't want to pop your rune chant,
Yeah.
right? Um, Eulogy is a RuneGate 1 card. They have heard our pleas here, right? It's a majestic. It's a very powerful card.
Yep.
When the chain closes, if a hero has lost life, well, technically you can lose life on a shadow non-attack in Vincent and lose life yourself. But it's create an eloquence token, and this is the one that gains. You gain the go again. You gain the action point essentially off your things like read the runes that didn't already have. It has to be a non-attack, right, for
Yeah.
eloquence. And not a lot of like Requiem of the Damned was really the only way, and your shitty little grimoire was the
Right.
only
Yeah.
way you were making eloquence beforehand. But now becomes really interesting as like a side piece, and it kind of leads me to believe there's other builds out there that can combo much nicer off
Mm.
multiple eloquences here. But it's a 1 for 4. You one card, you Vincent banish this, create a rune chant, attack for 1 for 4 plus the rune chant. You have to give me, if you don't have a D react, you don't want to give me armor, you have to give me 2 cards to block and pitch one for the rune chant. You give me 3 cards to like take away my eloquent, unless you have
Yeah.
like you know what I mean? Like there's no actual disruption on hit. So if you give me a D react, okay, give me another card for the rune chant. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you literally
Yeah.
do not need any setup. It's a 1 for 4. Insanely good stats. Blocks for 3 if you really
It
want.
does
I don't know
everything.
why you'd ever want to block with this card.
Right.
It's just it's super good. Like you can moth if you want to. Like you can 2 card banish this mauve, and then you could flail after if you really feel like it, right? But the fact that your upside is eloquence, which is super nice off a lot of the
Yeah. I'll
non-attacks
show it here.
you were playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not attack gaining the go again. Like the fact that you can do something and then actually be able to play read the runes something, right? Because
Right. That's strong.
beforehand you were kind of or like tome, like Tome of Findel. Remember that card?
Oh
You could
yeah.
Tome of Findel from the arsenal. You could do a lot of really nasty shit,
That's true.
which I think will lead people into playing pretty interesting builds of Vincent. But realistically speaking, this is just a stupidly good card and can
Yeah.
replace all those crappy 2 cards. The
True.
2 for 5, they like grains to life. Oh shit, I forgot what that card is. The stupid Specter or whatever.
The buffet one, the one oh no,
Yeah, he's gaining a life. It's really bad.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just really bad. So now you just get like straight upgrades. I think card's nuts.
I agree. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know,
I
just
think
like objective
that's it.
power level. It's just
Yeah.
super good.
It is true. I think we'll see a debate on which card is better. I think between Levia and Vincent. I forgot to mention there's one more honorable mention card that I wanted to bring up. And that is the weakest link. This is kind of like that CNC slot of the set. Every set seems to have one, like a race face CNC.
Yeah.
This card fits that, the 2 cost red, 6 attack, 3 block. This card is very strong into decks that don't have many blocking cards, like maybe Prism or Illusionist, maybe in general. So this card might be a very techable card
KO.
into Illusionist, into KO as well, because if they don't block this, then you get to strip a card from their hand that has no block value. So you can even strip the Artivore, in certain decks that can't block this out, and they're going to want to block this out if they have something that strong. So yeah, and I think you choose the card too, right? Look at their hand. Yeah, you choose the card to discard. So I think in a lot of, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, more and more matchups, this card can be a very real tech card. So honorable mention to the weakest link, I think.
Yep. I think this card does double duty in Azuri because you have evasiveness, right? You can stealth into the weakest link, and they don't know. So I think that's also it's quite good as like tech for Azuri and stuff like KO, or Illusionist or whatever they want to kind of run into. It's better into like if Illusionists they play it, they're gonna have to like respond essentially with like they have to like figure out a way how to play it. Yeah, they're gonna have to like play them all out, which can be good or bad. It really kind of depends.
Not what they want to do. It might be too early.
Yeah, generally not. Yeah, like Ward and stuff like that is where you'd be getting out of Enigma. It's just like, okay, they wanted to like keep it and then play it, on their to take damage, play it, and then attack you on their turn. To use life to develop board.
Yeah.
But this card makes it so they can't. You're gonna take it if they don't use it.
Exactly.
And if they respond and they do it, okay, well, damage. There's no damage yet, right? So that this will take the ward. Yeah. I do think it's pretty decent honorable mention.
All right. I think that's it.
It might have been 11. I don't really know. Who it doesn't really matter. But we talked about 10, probably a couple honorable mentions. So those are our current. Don't know what else is coming out kind of tomorrow, or before the set releases here. But for Classic Constructed, those are the kind of cards that we think you should look out for. Very powerful cards in their own rights, things like that. And with that, if you like this kind of content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, from wherever you're watching the world, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Bye for now.